Well, this lesson is from page 187 in your student book, and the objective is that you'll be able to solve and graph one-step inequalities using addition or subtraction properties of inequality. It's very similar to what you've already done. We're just building on by one little step. Then what steps do I take to solve and graph one-step inequalities? All right, when you add or subtract the same number from both sides of an inequality, the inequality remains true. And doesn't that sound very similar to when we would add or subtract the same number to both sides of an equality? Then it wouldn't change the value because you did the same thing to both sides. That's what it's really saying. So it's saying if A is greater than B and you add C to both sides, the left is still greater than the right because you did the same thing to the both sides, so the greater than symbol doesn't need to change. Or if you subtract a number from both sides, you've kept the balance. There's still A minus C is still greater than B minus C because you've done the same thing to both sides. Same thing if A is less than B and you add C to both sides, then A plus C is still less than B plus C. And if you subtract C from both sides, then A minus C is still less than B minus C. You do need this page in your notes. All right, so this is just showing an example of what that theorem just said. So if 2 is greater than -1, and you add 5 to both sides, now you have 7 is greater than 4, and so the inequality didn't change because you did the same thing to both sides. Similarly, if 5 is less than 9, and you subtract 3 from both sides, then 5 minus 3 is 2, and 9 minus 3 is 6, so you didn't need to change the inequality because it kept the balance. All right, so today in your lesson, you're going to solve and graph. And so you will see n minus 6 is less than 11. But we want to say, what numbers could that include? And you know it'll be many, many numbers that when subtracting 6 is still less than 11. So you want to get the n alone, just like we did before. So you'll do the opposite of subtract 6, and you'll add 6. And if you add 6 on this side, the 6's cross each other out, so you have just n alone. You have to add 6 to the other side. And so now you have the answer. N is less than 17. And then to graph it, you'd, because it's not equal to 17, it's just less than 17, you would graph it with an open circle and then your arrow going to less than. All right, this one is similar, but I left this one in there because it's something very different. In fact, truthfully, I had to redo this part because I had to rethink it through. But here you see A plus 10 on the right, and you're saying -4 is greater than any number, or equal to, any number plus 10. So you think, well, what number would that be? What numbers would it be that if I added 10, they're still less than -4, or -4 is greater than those numbers? So you would say subtract 10 on this side, so they cross each other out, and then you get A alone. And if you subtract 10 on this side, you need to subtract 10 on this side. So watch, this is the tricky part. So you're really flip-flopping these two. Well, not yet. As you see, then you say -14 is greater than or equal to A. But notice that if you had flip-flopped, you would say A is less than or equal to -14. Do you see how the A is on the less than corner point? And so you could leave it like this, Or you could flip-flop them and say A is less than or equal to negative 14. And so notice your arrow would be going the opposite direction. I didn't write it out, but I would maybe put my notes to say something about if the variable is on the right, your arrow has to go the other way from where the inequality is looking. Like notice how here it looks like it's pointing toward the right, but think about it as A is less than negative 14. So, for example, another way to know is, I just tried 0 over here. So if you plug in a 0, 0 is less than negative 14, but you want negative 14 to be greater than it. So you couldn't have the line going this way. All right, so this equation is a little more simple because the variable is on the left. And if you need help with that other one, we can do a couple more examples like that. Okay, so here you would say n plus a half is greater than or equal to 5. So you'd subtract half from this side. The two halves would cross out, so you have n alone. Subtract half, 1/2 from 5, and you get 4.5. So n is greater than or equal to 4.5. So you just say, because of that or equal to, it's a closed circle, and n is greater than or equal to. All right, the Airbus, this is an example from page 188 in your book, can seat up to 853 people. Up to means and including. Suppose there are 632 people already on the plane. How many more people are able to board? And so up to means less than or equal to. So here I have set it up. There are already 632 people on board, plus how many more can get on the plane. So we're still less than or equal to 153. There aren't enough seats on the plane for, or Airbus, I'm sorry, for 854. So you want it to be less than or equal to 853. So you would subtract 632 from this side. They would cancel each other out, so P is alone. You subtract 632 on this side. You need to subtract 632 on this side. So you would say, oh, at least 221 or less people can still get on. All right, this is another example from the book. An F1 tornado has wind speeds at least 73 miles per hour. An F2 tornado has wind speeds at least 113 miles per hour. Write and solve an inequality to show how much the F1 tornado must increase to become an F2 tornado. So here we have, whoops, not what I wanted, 73 miles per hour plus how many more miles per hour could equal an F2 or exceed an F2. And that means it would have to get up to 113 to do it. So you want to get W alone. So you'd subtract 73 from this side. Subtract 73 from this side. And say, you are saying the wind speeds would have to be greater than or equal to 40 miles per hour to become an F2 tornado. All right, and I think that was our last slide. So, all right, hope your notes made sense. If that one example with the variable on the right, if you need that reviewed, remember to ask tomorrow in class. Have a good day.